It was at this moment that he knew.
He bucked up. Welcome. You're listening to Bucked Up with Sam Buck.
Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. You have fucked up now. Now you fucked up. 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 Now you have fucked up.
Yeah, you, I guess we'll start off. You couldn't be on because you were sick. You're good now.
Mm-hmm.
And do you feel any like fatigue? You got corona. I mean,
Yeah, I got corona. My experience was not any worse than the worst flu I got. But I'm pretty healthy. And I've gotten a lot of experience with germs working at the rink I work at. And I don't know if that, played a role or whatever, but it was interesting. I was getting calls from the state of New Hampshire every day, and I was making friends with the state workers.
That's nice, making friends out of the situation.
Yeah, just like talking about. I mean, we're paying for them, so I wanted to just get the most I could out of them. I talked about my videos. I ran stand-up jokes by them and stuff. And
did you get a lot of views from that?
I did. Yeah, it really spread around there quite well.
Around the New Hampshire public offices.
Yep, the NH Board of Health, they love me over there.
So you did you quarantined like
Yes.
you should, like a good boy.
Uh-huh.
And then do you feel any lasting effects on your body? Like, do you feel fatigued or?
Yeah, I was really busy and I was running around, and I edit a lot of videos and I do a lot of work on the computer, and stuff was actually piling up. And it was kind of a convenient excuse to just work on my PC. I just bought a new PC before I went to Colorado, and I barely got to break it in. So I was just, having a good time with that. And,
you were in Colorado hiking?
Yes.
Hiking the mountains?
Yes. I have a friend named Mike Burke who...
Shout out Mike Burke.
Yeah, he's great. He has a podcast called Summit Fever. It's like totally for the outdoorsman. And he was in some of the early LeBoeuf comedy sketches I've made. And we made one called, what's the name of it? It was about, two jackasses trying to get rich. And it was basically like the story of him and I, because we're both kind of like dreamers and pipe dreamers. And, I'm trying to be a famous comedian, and he's trying to be Mike Burke. And I just put a little compilation of like funny moments that an entrepreneur would, typical things they say and stuff like that.
Are you an outdoorsy person? Or was that like?
Well, I am to an extent. I mean, like I don't go camping on my own. That's pretty hardcore.
That is hardcore.
He'll do stuff like that. He's done some crazy, crazy hikes. I've gone on a few. I've done, some mountains and stuff, but I'm not like, it kind of has to be put in front of me for me to like go out, because I'm just so busy with like everything I'm trying to do. And that's where I get my pleasure, doing what I do.
Feel like I would enjoy camping, but not in this life. So when I was in 6th grade, we had this like camping trip. You went away for 4 days,
Mm-hmm.
and they decided to put me and the 3 other biggest kids in one tent.
Mm-hmm.
So we were like sardines stacked in that camp, which is like the stupidest thing for them to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then the first night, a kid pissed himself sleeping. And there's no showers there. So just for like 3 nights, we had to sleep in our piss-stained sleeping bags in this tent. And it was like, I'm never camping again. Like this ruined. That's what I mean. Not in this life. Maybe in the next one I'll go camping. But this one,
How hot was that tent?
It was actually it was a cold tent.
Oh, okay.
So like, at least that was, yeah, you're right. If it was, it would have been smelly if it was hot. But when you're cold and wet from someone else's piss,
that's awful.
That's not a good introduction to camping.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, I always am so fascinated by people who like camping.
Yeah.
Of course, they didn't have that same experience, but I'm
Yeah.
like, I had this experience. How do you even like it?
If I had that experience, I might be in the same boat with you. That sounds pretty miserable. Yeah, I mean, we have it was rough in Colorado. There was some rough moments. So Mike is we all smoke, and we tend to forget things, here and there, and
As one does.
And we did not have an air mattress or really any like thick padding. We're out in Colorado. It's known for being a little rocky out there.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like me and Holly were sleeping like on our sides, and they were like
Shout out
rocks.
Holly Johnson. She was
Yes.
Johnston. I'm so sorry. I make fun of her so much for people messing up her name, and then I just did it live on the podcast. She was on episode 6, I think.
Yes, yeah. John's, yeah, it's really close to Johnson. But I learned from when we first met, we met through Instagram, and I was like, okay, it's Johnston. That's not a typo.
Yeah, if you mess it up, it would be bad.
Yeah.
I feel bad. But yeah,
Mhm.
I remember someone at a mic called her Haley Johnson.
Haley Johnson.
I was like, that's good.
That's 0 for 2
Yeah.
right there.
Whenever she bombs, she should just go by that.
Yeah. Hey, thanks. I've been Haley Johnson.
But back to you on the rocky ground.
Yeah, it was we were originally going to have a big tent with an air mattress, and then my friend Mike was going to get his nice North Face tent, but he gave us the North Face tent, and he just always has a spare hammock because that's the kind of guy he is. And he forgot the big tent, but he had a hammock because he always has a hammock because you never know when you're going to have to. I mean, in
Read a
Colorado,
book
it's
and
not
he's a grandfather, and he's not even.
Well, it's not like a cloth hammock. It's like a nylon, like hardcore hiker, like makeshift bed kind
That's
of hammock.
another one of those things. I only judge people on my own experiences. Like my grandfather had a hammock, so I'm like, every grandfather hammocks. Like,
Yeah. Did he take it with him?
no, he left that.
Okay. Yeah,
And it was very dangerous. I got hurt many a times trying to get out of that.
that's funny. Yeah, hammocks can fuck you up if you're not careful. Yeah.
I'm trying to learn about this rocky ground. Sorry,
Yeah,
I keep
no, it's fine,
derailing
man.
this,
No,
this
it was,
conversation.
It was really rocky, and it was like unbearably hot during the day and ridiculously freezing at night because it's Colorado. And so we were freezing at night, and then we'd wake up and it'd be like 110 degrees in the tent. It's like, no. And, we have rocks in our, spleen and whatnot. And, but it was fun. Mike is, he's great. He's really well prepared. He had this like Land Rover that was decked out with all this, like, it was basically like a Land Rover that you could like live in.
Really?
And he shouldn't have bought a Land Rover. Those things break down really quickly. They are not reliable
That's
cars.
kind of how I feel about having a Jeep. Like having a Jeep is like fine, but like you have, the Jeep wave.
Yeah.
How like whenever you see another Jeep, you wave. And
Oh, yeah.
whenever I do that, all I think is like, you also made a shitty decision. Like,
Yeah. How has that Jeep treated you? Is it
it's all right. It's
Yeah.
actually, I talk a lot of shit about it, but it's not that bad it's only bad when you get a mechanic to do the work because they overcharge the fuck out of you. But if you have a Jeep and you have like a friend or a family friend that does mechanic work, then you can buy the parts yourself, and it's actually not that bad of a car.
Yeah.
I should have learned that sooner because I spent a lot of money on it
Yeah.
early on.
Yeah.
But it's fine now, and I've put a lot of. I'm like 190 miles on that.
Yeah. You ever taken off-road?
190,000. Yeah, a little
Yeah?
bit. Up
Nice.
in on Cape Cod, where I'm not living on Cape Cod any longer. I know I was known as a Cape Cod comedian to the listeners, but no, I'm living here now. But when I was on Cape Cod, I'd love taking it on. Like they have these like sandy back roads that you go over, like tree stumps, and it's real. It's
Take
like
it on
some,
the beach.
Yeah, I take
Dude,
it on
I've
the,
always
it's-
wanted to do that. I wanted to get a Jeep just for that, just to take it on the, like some off-road trail and just bring it onto the beach and just like tail that.
Yeah,
It sounds so fun. Yeah.
But I put so many miles on my car, and the Jeep's not a good car to put miles on.
No, neither is a Land Rover.
No, neither
I
is
was
a
like-
Land Rover.
I was like, dude, you better like change the oil, like whatever you got to do. And he's
His
like,
podcast better be successful.
yeah, well, I mean, yeah, he's going to need to pay for it somehow. The funniest thing was the window. when you rolled up the window, it would make this like, like I have it on my phone somewhere. I don't know if should I play it?
Well, yeah, try to find
All
out.
right,
This fucking, that's the thing about like expensive cars is the
very quirky
the repairs on them
and
are expensive too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's also like BMWs, the newer BMW sports cars. They play like fake sounds from them, like fake engine sounds, not even real engine sounds.
I know. What about Teslas, man? I want
to test. See, that's the Tesla Cybertruck.
Yeah, that's what you want?
That's maybe the coolest looking car I've ever seen. That's what I want more than anything.
It's amazing how much people talk shit about it, though. It's too bad because it's like, it's ballsy. That's what I like about it.
It's so fucking cool looking.
I
hate the Tesla SUV, though.
You know,
the Tesla SUV.
There's no way to make a crossover look good. I've never seen a crossover that I'm like, yeah. Even the Bentley crossover. It's like, it's a Bentley, but it still looks like a. I found the.
Okay, perfect. Let's play this. This is a $100,000 car's window. Okay, that was worth it, dude. I'd be so mad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I got a NutriBullet over there. I make myself smoothies now, and I thought like, oh, I'll be healthy making smoothies, like. And then I just make the unhealthiest smoothie because no healthy smoothie tastes good. Like that's not how they work. But I got the NutriBullet and it didn't work the first time I used it. I was like, nothing is happening. I had a full and I couldn't imagine then buying a Land Rover and having something not work. Like I freaked out over a fucking NutriBullet.
Yeah, you know, he got it for like $3,500. Like, dude, I got this for $3,500. Yeah, but like that's gonna be the cost of his head gasket when it goes. You know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. You're gonna.
Now you're doubled. You know, you doubled your expenses. Yeah, my sister got a new. Well, she just always makes smoothies, but she doesn't give a fuck. She'll put like broccoli and like spinach in it.
I like
and
some spinach smoothies.
Yeah, but it's like she'll make something that's just like a pure, like it's too healthy. It's like you gotta have something that will rot your teeth out in there. You know,
something
like
that tastes good.
Some apples or I don't know, whatever.
How was the airport during Corona time? I've always wondered about that.
You know, it's kind of spooky. I mean, it's a lot like other places, but obviously they got hit so hard. And an airplane is such a, if you're worried about the disease, it's kind of a vulnerable situation, you know?
Yeah.
Because everyone, I mean, like you're all sharing the same air. So that's one of the reasons why they got hit hard. But like, you know, I mean, the mask thing was enforced pretty strictly. On the plane, you had to wear it the whole time. And
you don't
like
sit next to anyone. There's like
the middle seat is like
that's pretty nice.
Yeah, you know, you don't have a fat fuck. You know,
excuse me, I have wide hips. I am that fat fuck.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've sat next to some really large people, and it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, with Holly, you know, I had to sit, you know, one seat away from her, even though, you know, I mean, even though we share saliva. I mean, like, but anyways, it was eerie, and but
what was stricter, Colorado or Massachusetts?
I think Massachusetts, because I think the lockdowns were more intense in Mass. I think with Colorado, they're just enforcing the masks everywhere, which is getting pretty common now. So, I mean, it's just, I feel like it's all kind of reaching a new like equilibrium of like laws. It's like everyone has like the same standards pretty much now. So
were there people out hiking in Colorado other than you that you saw, or was it pretty?
And actually, you know, I think a hike is probably one place where you can go without a mask. I mean, you know, there were people that, like, there were kids at really high elevations wearing a mask in really hot weather. I was like, it's a little messed up. But, you know, in the store, that makes more sense.
I went up to New Hampshire for a show. It was the first week things started opening up. And it was the first week things started opening up, and I go up to New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And I go on into a store, and I have a mask on.
Mm-hmm.
no one in there has a mask, and they all give me a dirty look for having a mask. I was like,
Yeah.
this is northern New Hampshire.
Yeah.
This is
Live
the
free
more
or die,
northern
bitch.
you get,
Yeah.
the more southern you get. Like I have a hunting cabin that
Yeah.
my family has no running water. I mean, it's like
Yeah,
a
it's out
cabin
there.
up in northern Maine.
Mhm.
And it's like the deep south. Like, how do you
Yeah.
have southern accents in Maine? Like, you know what
how
I
does that
mean?
twang? It's pretty far away.
There's no
from
need for you to
where
have a
the twang is.
Confederate flag.
Yeah.
flying in
Northern
New-
Maine had nothing to do with the Confederacy. Yeah, it's pretty crazy how polarized it's like
Mhm.
become, and like people associated with one party or another, and I think that's one of the big problems. It
Oh.
should be like, I mean, I don't want to get it, so it's a complicated issue, but
And you got it.
Yeah, and I got it,
You dealt with it. You
Yeah.
definitely got it on that plane. I'm just.
yeah, it's possible. It's very, very
Just
possible.
take road trips right now.
Yeah,
That's the only self-help advice from this
yeah,
episode.
road trips. Yeah, your own
Um,
car. Yeah, we were talking outside before this started about the fact that we're both Rogan heads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you have a Church of What's Happening Now shirt
I
on.
got a Joey Diaz
I
shirt.
complimented that. I saw Joey Diaz live. I fucking love Joey Diaz and Ari Shafir and all those. And
Duncan
like,
Trussell.
yeah.
all those.
they're like the kings of podcasting. They really like made it a legitimate like art form, because there's been some really incredible conversations that have come
Yeah,
out of that.
I actually, that reminds me. So you're a hockey guy. You
Yes.
have a very popular hockey YouTube or comedy
Yes.
YouTube page, but hockey videos.
Yep.
So how I got into Rogan and podcasting in comedy, actually, like how I found it was when I was 17. I went to Cushing Academy, which is a pretty good hockey. It's like
Oh, yeah.
one of the top in
For
the
sure.
area for hockey. And my junior year, this is such a dumb story.
Whatever.
My girlfriend broke up. I broke up with my girlfriend, and then she was like, well, I wanted to date a hockey guy anyway. And she didn't go to the school. So I was like, well, I'm going to fucking start playing hockey.
Mhm.
And I started playing hockey. And then like a month into it, I was pretty good.
Mhm.
I got a level 5 out of 5 concussion.
Oh, boy.
Like I got a real bad concussion. So for a
Yeah.
month, I had to lay in my room with no lights,
Mm.
couldn't listen to music, couldn't talk to anyone. Had to
Damn.
take medical leave for the rest of the year of school. And I couldn't listen to music, but all I could listen to was people talking. So I just listened to podcasts and stand-up.
Wow.
And then after that 30 days, my life was changed. I was like, okay, this is my calling. Like, this
Yeah.
is my path. And it was all kind of because of hockey
Yeah.
and that accident. But it was, I mean, we're like 6 years later, and I now have a podcast, and it was 5 years for me to actually start doing stand-up seriously, but we're here, and it kind of led from that
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah, that's really funny, because that was kind of my journey in a way too, because I was really, really dead set on making the NHL, and I'd been playing goalie since I was like 9 years old, and I was like really, really focused on it. And 9 years old is still kind of late for a hockey player, so I had some catching up to do. So I always had like a bit of a chip on my shoulder, and I remember just like years and years and years of playing really hard. I mean, the highest I got to was a junior A team, and there was a Russian guy, because junior teams just bring in players from everywhere.
Yeah.
There were a few like English guys, a few Australian guys. The starting goalie was from Finland, and this Russian guy was really, really big. He was like 6'5", and he had like long, I don't know if, do you know Alex Ovechkin?
No, I don't.
Okay, all right. He's a pretty well-known hockey player. And
See,
he's got,
after that hockey accident, I was like, fuck that. It's the
Yeah.
same thing. It's the same thing with hiking. I was like, not in this lifetime.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah. So Alex Ovechkin, he's a Russian dude with like a mop head, and this guy was like a large, pudgy Alex Ovechkin. I call him like Alex Ovechkin's pudgy younger brother. And he used to, so we brought a radar into practice. He could shoot like 101, 102, like 102 miles an hour. That's a fast shot. And I'm a goalie. And he used to take slap shots from like 10 feet away, 5 feet away. And he used to fuck up my hand really badly.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It never broke anything, but like probably some like micro fractures or something. Like it
was too much.
Yeah. And after, so that junior team was competitive, but it was kind of like not a real junior A team. Hockey's like kind of weird like that. You know, they have the real, like basically, you know, the scouts don't look at those ones. So I tried to join a team that was in the, I think it's the EJ or the AJ. Those were like the big, it's like AJ, HL, something like that. Those are like the big ones that people actually watched. And I tried out for a few of those teams, and I got a spot as a third goalie. And on one team, and I did make a few others. And it's like a lot of fucking money to play junior hockey, because even if you make it, you're still paying like thousands and thousands of dollars. So I just decided that I'm young enough to where I can pursue something else. And then eventually, like that void I filled with videos of George Carlin and Bill Hicks and Joe Rogan. And that kind of like pushed me in that direction. And it made me tap into my younger self, because I was not a natural athlete. And I had to like really push myself outside my comfort zone to be at the level of play I was at. And, you know, I was 16 when I started comedy. I started writing material at 16. I did my first mic when I was 17. And
when did you start doing it like multiple times a month, I'd say?
I would say in the first month I went to open mics, I went to like 8 of them.
Okay.
Like 8 weeks in a row. Yeah. And then high school started, and I actually decided that I was going to focus on kind of like showing everyone in my high school that I'm going to be a comedian and you can come along for the ride with me. And I did like a sketch at Mr. SHS, which was like a male beauty pageant. And I would make comedy videos. And my third video was called Stereotypes Pick Up Pond Hockey. And that was my first attempt at a hockey comedy video. And that was picked up. Some guy from TSN, which is the Canadian ESPN, they wrote an article about it, and it drove a ton of views to it. And now it has like 1.1 million.
Yeah, I was watching that video, and as I said, I don't like hockey, but that video is funny. Like, I'm not even a hockey person, but I was fucking laughing at that. I was watching it, yeah, to, you know, I like to prepare and shit, but that one, it's funny that I always say that like everything that happened to me led me to the path where I am now. I don't want to get like super spiritual or whatever, but like that's how I felt, and why I'm happy to have you on, when like that hockey, whatever that led you to something that can get you success and something you actually want to pursue. Yeah. You know.
Yeah. That's something I was kind of surprised to discover, that we had that in common, that it was kind of like we played hockey, and then something happened that made us stop, and then that energy transferred into stand-up.
Yeah.
You know, I think with being a goalie specifically, it's like you get that same kind of feeling that you get in an open mic. Like everyone's eyes are on you. If you make a mistake, like you're the only one that they'll blame, you know. And
I was a pitcher for baseball. I was a goalie for soccer. I was the center for basketball. Like I always wanted those positions, but I never, sports were my dad's thing. He was a D1 athlete, starting baseball player. And I just, like, sports were his thing. I didn't connect to it. I didn't have like I was good at it, but I wasn't, to be great, you have to have a passion. Yeah.
Yeah. My dad was like, hockey was the only sport he did. And he was pretty good. Like, he used to tell me stories about like he got into fights, like he was a savage, like he had a hard shot, he would make plays, and he did play goalie at one time, but when he stopped playing hockey competitively, he just went back to skating out.
Do you still play?
I do, yeah. So whenever I do cutscenes for goalie smarts. I haven't even gotten into that. There's a story there too. But whenever I film for goalie smarts, I have to wear the goalie equipment and get out there and skate. And I still play like men's leagues, kind of like, loose, not like competitive hockey. I have gotten into some higher end practice. There was a video I did called How to Survive a Pro Camp. That was a goalie smarts episode. And the way I filmed that was I did the monologue at the rink, and I filmed a practice with a coach that has a business called High End Hockey. And he literally had guys that were all either NHL or AHL. And this was like a year ago, and I skated with them, and I made a lot of saves. I mean, they definitely got some goals on me, but like I did pretty well, and I got it all on video.
Did you feel your passion come back in that moment? Like
yeah.
In that moment where you like, oh, like
I did.
Do you miss it, or do you get that same rush when you're playing in just like a men's league?
I think, I think comedy is more fulfilling than being a professional athlete, because I feel like if you're a professional athlete, you're committed to one thing. And I feel like stand-up is so versatile that like you kind of have more ways of like leaving your mark.
We were talking about this on the last episode with Patrick, but I really have a respect for comedians who do comedy and do another thing. It can be anything. It can be literally even have a podcast, but like just I don't know. I might be speaking out of turn, but like I feel like you have to have things to draw on stage. If you're just doing comedy, then you become cynical. Yeah.
I remember the first 3-4 years of doing comedy, I was kind of like so focused on that I just like started running out of new ideas. And that's when I decided that I'm going to try to get some more variety so I have more experience, to talk about.
So when that video, the pond
hockey,
when that got a lot of views, were you like, oh, let me start the goalie videos then, or did you take some time before?
It was actually a little bit less than a year when I came up. I released the first episode in November. I think I actually wrote it in August. And I remember at the time when the hockey video, the pond hockey video was blowing up, I did a class at Improv Boston with Dana J. Bine, who's a comedian in like Cambridge. And he's been
stand-up class or improv class?
Stand-up class, yeah. And I was 17 when I took that class. And I was just so hungry for knowledge. And Dana's always been a big mentor of mine. And I kind of just like told him about the video, and like he was impressed. And I remember that whole year I was trying to think of like, I need to diversify. I need to make some other kind of character, I made this video called, it was an interview with Hula Mula, which was like a fake rapper. I don't know if you watched that one, but that was one of my favorites. Yeah.
I'll have to watch that.
Yeah. And, I tried to make some other things, some other characters. Or thing I didn't like about that video is I didn't really want to make multiple versions of it, because I didn't want that to be like my thing.
The pond hockey?
Yeah.
Video? Yeah, because I remember some of the comments are like, waiting for a part 2, man.
Yeah, I still might do that someday. Mm-hmm. But I think what happened is I wanted something that I could do like 30, 40 episodes of. And I started thinking of different ways I could make like hockey comedy a show. And it dawned upon me that I could do like a set of tutorial videos, because I used to watch a lot of tutorial videos from goalie coaches, and some of them were like really cheesy DVDs in like the mid 2000s when goaltending started to get more technical. And the sliding and shit. Mm-hmm. Like in the 80s, they would just flail their leg in a direction and hope it hits them. But like it became more like scientific. And there were a lot of like DVDs with coaches that had like their special way. So I decided I could just take that whole concept of like having a tutorial series and then just use it as a springboard to make relatable goalie content that was funny about anything I could think of. And I've done 86 episodes of that. And I have about 4 million hits altogether between, I ended up splitting the channels into two different, because I wanted to focus on really creating a brand for that character.
Yeah.
And kind of like some brand identity, because I noticed that the hockey audience and the regular sketch audience don't mix perfectly. There are people that are so obsessed with hockey, like that's all they want to think about. So like I felt like if I just isolated it to one channel, they could just indulge in that, and then I'll throw my regular sketches in at the end, just like, hey, if you want to watch it, go for it, you know.
But they don't if they subscribe, they don't need to see all the.
Yeah. And I think it's good because the people that are watching the other sketches are the people that want to watch it. And I think, you know, I made a lot of episodes of that though.
Was there a learning curve? Like when you started, did you have to teach yourself how to do all the like video editing, or was that something that you had knowledge in before? So I had been a video editor for a very long time. I mean, I was making stuff on Windows Movie Maker when I was like 7 years old. So like I actually used to edit and film skateboard videos too in middle school. And that was like, those were some of my first paid Are you still
video
a skateboarder?
gigs. I have a longboard and I'll like go around the neighborhood, but I don't feel like busting my ass on handrails anymore.
Yeah.
I never even tried the handrails. I was a pussy.
That's how I felt about skiing. It's like I'd go to the park and I'd do like little jumps, but I would never like do like some of my friends would do shit and I'd be like, fuck
like,
that.
Yeah.
He's that high up. Oh, and I'm not doing that.
That's a long way to hurt yourself.
Exactly.
That's a long way down. Yeah.
So you were making the videos young.
Yeah.
See, it's that thing where it's like if you follow a certain path, everything that you've done in your life will kind of converge into helping you in your path. Like
you make your own luck when you
exactly.
focus on something.
So like when I went to college, my degree is in film and new media. I just wanted to study film. I talked about this on the last episode. My film teacher kind of crushed my dreams. So I stopped doing that, but I still got the degree. And that's when I started focusing on theater more and writing plays and directing plays and stuff like that. But when I got out, the new media degree helped me get a marketing manager job at a restaurant. And that's where I learned how to market and everything and use social media. So it's funny, like the film helped me get that, which then helped me learn how to market this podcast.
On their dime.
Exactly. And it kind of, if you let everything work out, it will. Like, it's a dumb thing to say, but like everyone's on their own path. Like
there was this Duncan Trussell quote that I always live by: "Sink into what you are." Did you ever listen to that segment?
Yeah.
Like the more you embrace like who you are, the more good things happen to you, and the more like, I mean, that's what Duncan Trussell did. That's what Joe Rogan did.
I saw Duncan Trussell at the Wilbur, and it was probably. I'm an emotional guy. I cried at the end of it. It probably was one of the best live comedy shows I've seen, and it wasn't even like it was funny. And of course I was laughing, but it was like you're watching someone who's he's teaching you something to learn about being yourself. So if anyone can go see Duncan Trussell live when things open back up, it's really worth it, because it's an experience like many others that bring you to the present and make you connect with who you are. Dude,
Duncan Trussell is a super deep thinker. And I love his stand-up. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Carlin. Just that he has that edge to him that he had, you know? And I love Duncan Trussell. And that quote really, like, I live by that. Just sink into what you are. Like, and, you know, even Bo Burnham is from... There's so many... There's a lot of
like there's so many.
Yeah, Sarah Silverman, Adam Sandler. I think he's New York and New Hampshire. Mark Maron. Yep.
Yeah, a lot.
Yep.
And the scene now has so many great comedians that.
Oh yeah.
But about that, like sinking into who you are, do you you said you have about 80 episodes of the what's the
Goalie Smarts.
Goalie Smarts.
Yeah.
Do you feel like if an episode doesn't do well,
Mhm.
do you want to quit, or do you like if it's on like a low like like a
Yeah,
low listener
on a
trend,
low-
or
yeah.
or is this just like, nope, this is what I'm gonna do, this is what I'm putting out?
It's a series that has got a more radical and consistent fan base than anything else I've ever done. And the reason for that is because there was not, in 2015 when I started it, there was not a lot of goalie specific entertainment. And like you were basically forced to either like watch highlights or like, I don't know, some company releases a new marketing video for their pads or whatever. Like there was not a lot of options for if you want to like indulge in being a hockey goalie and be entertained. And I noticed there was that for a lot of other things. For bodybuilding, there was like Don Mazzetti. For baseball, there was Kent Murphy. There's a lot of basketball videos out there. And there's a lot of people that love hockey, but there's not a lot of like hockey entertainment out there. And especially hockey goalie entertainment. And I feel like it's relatable for players too, because a lot of them know goalies. So they're like, it's kind of, and it's perfect for comedy because goalies are kind of they have a reputation for being a little wacky.
Mhm.
And it's like, it's perfect because you can use that for comedy and like you can kind of portray that stereotype and create punchlines out of it.
Yeah.
And like, funny situations. So I'm very thankful for them. And I always try to make the videos with some degree of consistency. And, they're guaranteed to get like, a couple thousand views at a minimum.
Mhm.
And that's better than a lot of the regular comedy sketches I make.
How long did it take for it to blow up?
So episode 1 got an article written about it by TSN, but it was a Facebook video. They wanted, because they were switching to Facebook video and none of the views counted on YouTube. But the Facebook video got like 45,000 views. So it would have been added onto YouTube. So it didn't like immediately explode. But what happened is then like a couple other people picked it up and it was episode 1. And I think episode 1 is like 100,000 views. It didn't get that right away. It took a long time.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think helped was the episodic nature of
Mhm.
it. And that's why podcasts work out so well, because like episode 1, 2, if you get to episode 476, like you're going to be, oh, there's 475 other of these podcasts that I haven't watched yet. So like that episodic thing kind of makes people get sucked into it. And that's something that a lot of the other videos didn't have, is that like feeling like it's a show.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
How often do you put them out?
So I've been all over the map with it. There was a point in time where I was doing them every week, but I noticed that I was kind of cutting corners on the writing a little bit. It takes a lot to write them because it's very specific. It's very like thin, like selection of topics. And a lot of them have already been done. So I'm averaging about like one a month now. And I have plans for getting back into a pattern. I think what I'm going to do, well, actually part of the plan is, I haven't announced this on my channel yet, but I'm going to start doing one goalie smarts and then the next week a regular sketch and then a goalie smarts. And I'm going to get into that because I'm going to start evening things out. And, but the thing about the Guillaume Duclair character is that even when I run out of ideas for goalie smarts, there's a lot of other avenues I could pursue. Like I've done a few videos where I'll like make up drills, and that's not like a tutorial per se. It's, so there's a lot of dimensions I could go. And
do you feel like you get stuck in the character? Like, I don't know, like being that be your most popular thing?
A little bit, but I feel like it's put me in front of a lot of people that I wouldn't get if I was focusing on more general things. And I feel like it's a great kind of it's like the tinder on a fire, you know, like it's like the first step. Like I just wanted to get something out there because there's a lot of noise in the social media world and it's hard to get people to remember you. And I feel like because I focused on the few and I tailored to them, they have a different level of loyalty. So I feel like they're more likely to, you know, kind of get on board with a new idea where it's more just maybe, you know, podcasting or sketches.
Yeah.
And, and
how did you come up with the character?
So I came up with the name by looking at the roster of a Canadian junior team and picking two very French names. And it was Guillaume Gauthier and Anthony Duclair.
Have any of these either of those players become anything?
Anthony Duclair is in the NHL now, and
that's because of you.
That's because of me, because I picked him. Yeah, no,
the other guy.
Yeah, exactly. I think that guy did something. I don't know.
Sorry, I forgot I had a soundboard. I should use it,
dude. That thing is awesome, man. You should use it more. What other sounds do you plan on adding to that thing?
I just want all of the West Side Gun drop. So he's my favorite rapper. If you've seen me do stand-up, I'm always wearing one of his t-shirts. Like I'd say 75% of the time I'm wearing clothes from West Side Gun. Yeah, that's just how it works. And I just want all of his ad libs as my drop. I already got and I got and those are the two. But once I get them all, I'll be set because that's the only thing I need. Because like throughout my day, I'll just go boop, 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 boop. Yeah. I can't do the noise, but I'll just make it. Like he has so many different ad libs that I love that. Like I listen to him so much. Yeah. That like those are the ad libs for my life. So I want them on the podcast.
Dude, I've been working on this joke about Drake, how he like repeats himself. He's like, you know, in sicko mode, he's like, I walked down the block.
Well, that's
made a right. You know?
I listen to a lot of rap. Actually, I've announced it, but I'm starting a rap podcast, a rap solo show called Wrapped Up that will be on this channel in probably a month or two. I'm going to start it. But I listen to a lot of rap, and that's the funny thing about ad libs is like there's rappers who like really put time into their ad libs. And then there's rappers who just like say the word again. But then like rap and comedy are so similar. They really are. Like rappers are comedians. Like Lil Wayne is funny as fuck. Yeah. So there's this rapper SD Knack from Lynn, actually, Massachusetts. Yeah. And he has this he's such a hard rapper, and I'm trying to get him on the podcast, and I fucking love him. Like, I'm a real fan, but he has this one ad lib that makes me crack up every time where I'll just say a really hard bar and they'll just go, ad lib. Like, he'll say the word, and it makes me laugh every single time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, comedy kind of has like this rhythmic thing to it, and it's like, it's like engineering words. And like every pause, they're very similar because you're like, it's like poetry that doesn't rhyme, you know? It's
there's definitely a flow to it. And I feel like that my jokes that are the best is when I've turned it into a song. That's how I describe it. I don't know how else. Maybe a poem is better, but like when I have a rhythm to it and I know when to take a break or when to say this, and I can even mess around within it. Yeah. But like when it has that rhythmic flow is when I know that a joke is it's good. Like that's a joke that I can now use on stage. Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like there's a lot of comedians that want to be rappers. You know? Yeah, well like a lot of comedians probably could be rappers because that writing ability and that creative instinct, you know? My dad's favorite movie when I was growing up was Dave Chappelle's Block Party, which is for people who don't know, it's Dave Chappelle, like a documentary where he puts on a rap concert in New York City. Yeah. And it's like just a documentary about that, but he has like Kanye, Common, Tribe. He has just everyone who was big in that era he has on the show. And it's an amazing documentary. And it's funny. I was always a rap fan, always a comedy fan. but I didn't really want to watch that movie growing up.
Yeah.
It's that thing. Like if your parents like it, you're like, I don't really want to.
Yeah.
And then I watched it, and Chappelle has this line where he goes like, comedians and rappers are of like the same mind. And I always thought like, why do I connect to rap? So like, look at me.
I'm a total hip hop head too.
Look at me. Why the fuck do I connect to rap so much? I mean, yes, I saw Wu-Tang Clan with my dad when I was 12. Like,
Love
yes,
Wu-Tang
my
Clan.
mom loves Lil Wayne, but it's like they also loved other shit that I didn't connect to. And I think it's because there is a mind of saying, fuck the system. Like,
yeah,
that's the kind of the comedy way of doing it. And it's also the rap way of doing it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love that idea. I hope that works out, a rap podcast.
Yeah, so I guess I know. So every Friday, there's a music dump on all streaming platforms. That's when the rap labels release all the music.
Yeah.
And so every week, I listen to every song that's dropped every week.
Yeah.
From every label. Like, I listen to it all, and I'll on Apple Music at least. I'm sorry, just Apple Music.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And I'm going to review most of it. Like, I'm going to say every week what's like the music to listen to, what's not, because I listen to it anyway, and I'm the friend who sends music to all my friends, and it's
I love those friends.
And it's they get annoyed by it though.
I
like,
never.
All right, I'll add you to the list.
Nice.
I'm gonna start. So Holly on the episode said you like Daft Punk, so I was
do.
like,
oh, I fucking love.
Is that your shit?
Yeah, I'm into like rap and techno and all kinds of stuff. I have a really wide variety of tastes in music. I like music that plays with my emotions well. You know what I mean? And Daft Punk kind of was like the beginning of EDM. And I kind of like how it was a little bit like unpolished. I feel like modern dubstep is a little bit too like, it feels like you're on meth sometimes, you know, like.
Oh my dad took me.
It's good, but like some of it's good.
Speaking of like my dad taking me to concerts, I definitely shouldn't have gone to too young. Like Wu-Tang Clan when I was 12, when I was 15, he took me to see Deadmau5. And I think he just wanted to be like, look at what people who do drugs all the time are like. Don't do Molly, don't do ecstasy. Like, look at these fucking idiots.
Yeah. Oh my God. Holly has a
did.
great joke about parents bringing her kids
yeah,
to music
that's
festivals.
that's one of my favorite jokes there. She was doing that last night.
Did she do it on the podcast?
No, she didn't.
Okay, all right. We'll let them. They'll have to look that up.
Yeah, it's but that is a great joke.
Yeah, that kind of reminded me of that.
But no, go back. Sorry, that was just that. I forgot that I saw Deadmau5 when I was so young.
Yeah, that's kind of awesome. But I got into Daft Punk because of Kanye West and because of Stronger. And I looked up the original song, and then I started making the connection with Around the World. That was another song that I just heard on the radio that I liked. And I just, at one point, just like really dived into their old shit. And dude, Alive 2007 and a Big Fat Edible will put you on another planet, man.
So techno isn't, I used to listen to everything. And I think as I got older, I listen to everything that I like. Like, I'll listen to every rap song every week. Yeah. I love that. I like psychedelic rock a lot. Like, that's Kurt Vile, Kevin Morby, like
Tame Impala.
Tame Impala, all that like psychedelic rock I love. Yeah. And I also like jazz. Those are like my three, I think, now, because rap is just jazz. Like, I don't mean, but like it is. Like, people don't want to think of it.
It inherited a lot from the jazz culture.
And even mumble rap, they're just creating an instrument with your voice. Like, listen to a song from the 60s from an amazing scat singer. And I'm not even a big scat fan. Like, that's the type of I'm not a fan of it in bed. I'm not a fan of it in my music. But like scat, like there are some amazing ones, and that's how I feel about mumble rap. Like I love mumble rap because it's like they've just changed it to an era that it fits in now.
Right. I mean, your voice is an instrument. I mean, you can do what.
But saying that I hate acapella music so much. I hate it.
Yeah, even
so
good
much.
acapella still
there's
feels
no
like
such thing as good acapella music.
Well, I mean, like you can tell these guys practiced a lot.
Imagine
and,
being the dude who's just like boom, 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 boom.
boom. Yeah, that's what throws me off is
Play
the
a beat
bass guy.
behind you and rap. You're fine.
Yeah.
Like pick up an instrument if you can do that with your voice.
Anything than only voice. I don't. Yeah,
it's the same way I feel about singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
Like I have so many artists that I love, and I'll see them every time they go on tour. But if they do like an unplugged tour, I'll be like, "Fuck off!
Yeah.
I don't want to listen to you play an acoustic guitar, Kurt Vile."
Yeah. Yeah, that's just like the ultimate expression of the guy at the campfire, like I'm gonna do it in front of a whole fucking audience. It's like you can barely hear it because it's fucking acoustic. We have the technology. Just use it. Just,
I grew up
use
with
it.
I grew up with Kanye. Kanye was my favorite rap.
I love Kanye, man.
Late Registration, I knew every word when I was
Yeah.
like 8 years old. Like I love, and I'm happy. The Christian stuff was the only time that I ever didn't like. Life of Pablo, I think, is his best album.
Yeah.
I love that album. Like
Yeah.
I can listen to it front to
too.
back over and over and over again. I think Yay is an all right album. I don't think it's great. I think it's mid, but I think
Yeah.
it's all right. But that Christian shit.
Yeah.
It's not like it was good, like
Yeah.
if the lyrics were good, or
If it was like a bunch of songs like Jesus Walks or
yeah.
there was another one, Never Let Me Down or Never Let You Down, I think.
Yeah. Also, I don't like when people are like, "Oh, Kanye is religious." It's like
Mhm.
Jesus Walk was his first single.
Yeah.
And it's not the problem with the Christian music. It's the problem with the quality,
The sound of the-
exactly. Yeah.
And then he started like getting into some like serial killer shit. He was like, "Bitch, I'm gonna kill you," and like I love Kanye, and he like kind of taught me to be confident and like believe in myself, and I love all that. But he's been spending too much time in his Utah mansion, like hanging out by himself and shit. Like I don't know.
I agree with what he's saying about the music industry, though.
Yes,
I
yes.
think they like to kind of change what he's saying, and yeah, he probably shouldn't call it modern day slavery, because a lot of people will then just take that out of context. But the amount of rappers that are chewed up and spit out of the system just because they were offered a chance. Go back and listen to episode 4 of my episode of Bucked Up with Lloyd Legacy. It's my top viewed clip. He talks about what the label wanted him to do for $2 million.
Yeah.
It's one of the, you can just look it up. They want him to get tattoos. They want him to wear a wire. And it's like, that's what these rappers will do to get out of the situation they're in. But then they don't realize, because they can't afford the lawyer with the money that they're getting, that they are getting fucked up. And then they get addicted to drugs because the fucking labels are buying them the drugs. And then they just get spit out.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you fucked up your life. It's like, no, my life was fucked up because I was just trying to make a better situation.
Yeah. And one of the things that really made me love Daft Punk is that they were the ultimate rebels against that system. They, from the very beginning, put their foot down and said, "We own our recordings. You cannot do anything to our image." Like, they just called the shots, and they were like so popular that they really could get away with it. And like, they would do things like, the executives pulled up with limos and they saw the limos, freaked out, and got a cab. Like, they just did not want to be corrupted or altered. And I kind of like have that philosophy with comedy, like I really want to like set my, and that's the thing about the internet and independent media is like, there are rappers that can completely make it just with the internet, and like start their own label and like, completely call their own shots. And I really want to see that transition away from power, like that power getting back into the hands of the artist. I think that's something to look forward to, because that's only going to change further in that direction.
Yeah, The only thing I will say about the Kanye thing is that he did fuck over a lot of artists on his label, which is that's the only, but no one ever talks about that. No one ever talks about how like Valet or how, well, Sheck West fucked himself up, or how like when they signed these artists to Good Music, they did kind of get fucked over. But that could be because the label deal that he has, I'm speaking on shit I don't know at this point, but
maybe he was trying to make up for his losses or whatever,
it's like a real conundrum in the rap world. But I do like, it's like comedy. It's like what Andrew Schultz does. Yeah. And I like him. I'm not like the biggest, I like him a lot, but he did it on his own. He did it for posting the videos on YouTube and just kind of like not selling out, being himself. Right. And that's all you got to do, which is troubling. Yeah. Do you get hate on any of your videos?
Everybody love everybody.
I do, but my whole perspective on that is I really pay attention to the ratio, because I feel like with any art form, any kind of interpretive thing, there will be some percentage of people that just want to be against it. And to me, as long as, I've gotten a few like comments from fans and shit, and that hurts more. But just the random strangers, I don't give a fuck about them, or the dislikes that inevitably happen. I mean, I just look at my videos and I try to judge based on what percentage I see. And as long as I think like my lowest rated like to dislike ratio, first they're always the bigger ones, because they just reach enough people to where that pile adds up. Right. I've gotten down to like 92%. Oh, that's yeah, and that's like the lowest. I average about like 97, 98, which is better than I did in school, because so that's kind of how I saw it. That's like your grade on YouTube.
Did you have to build up a thicker skin, or were you always? So I'm a very harsh critic. Like editing my own podcast, I fucking hate it. Like did you have to build that up over time, or are you always like?
For me, it was a constant battle for my whole life, because I was a little bit on the self-conscious side when I was young, and I just started to learn, how much better it can be when you just don't give a fuck. And I used to like get on stage. I used to do theater programs when I was like basically from 1st to 5th grade. I would do theater programs, and we had this teacher named Miss Daisy, and she was a rough bitch, man. She was hard on us, and I respected that, because she just had high expectations. When she'd yell at us, she had really flabby arms, and we called them the flabby arms of death. She'd be like, "Why do you?" and the flabby arms of death coached me to be like this, the whole thing of memorizing lines and like being on point and like kind of like being in show mode. Like even doing a podcast, I'm kind of like in show mode. Like we're performing. Yeah, it's like a conversational performance. And it's the same thing with stand-up. Like you're in, it's like I'm memorizing my lines. Obviously there's no lines to memorize with a podcast, but with stand-up, I'm always about the writing and the memorization and kind of the building it up, and like I don't just go up and make shit up on the spot, I
talked about this on the last episode, or me and my guest did, Patrick, but when I used to write everything down, and I still do, but I've kind of given myself a way of just like, all right, you're going to try to write on stage and be more fluid. I was listening to did you listen to the Joe Rogan, Ron White podcast? I haven't.
Okay, was that recent?
Yeah, it was recent. So they were just talking about kind of like just being free on stage, and just being like, sometimes you got to jump into the wind and hope that it takes you to a good place. Yeah. And I was so scared to do that when I first started, but now I feel like I'm getting better jokes out of it. This is how I described it on last week's episode. The bits are getting a lot better. My actual jokes, I might not get as good of a punchline out of something if I'm not sitting down and writing of it, but I can like build on a premise or a bit more when I just go up there and I'm like, all right, I know that I got a couple jokes in here, but let's figure it out and hope that it gets to the end.
Yeah. That I feel like that is a direction that I'm going to go at some point.
But you have a
I
full
totally
job.
see-
I'm unemployed, so I can go multiple times a week. I don't have anything to do. Like,
Yeah.
you have actual shit to do.
But
I got this podcast and I got that stuff.
There you go. You're putting that thing into use now. Yeah. But I got my job, and that's the thing. I kind of love my situation because it's great for passive income because I work at the rink, and it's just like you cut the ice every hour, you clean up, and then you just fuck off out back. And then I'll bring my laptop out there. I'll write sketches. I'll work on stand-up. The only benefit is there's a lot of night shifts, and it's, it blocks off a lot of show opportunities.
Yeah.
I am doing Rick's tonight. I don't know if you're doing it.
I am doing Rick's.
nice.
I'm going to be late, though, because I have I guess you're not going to hear this, listeners. I'm doing a Zoom storytelling show with the Comedy Studio tonight.
Very nice.
Yeah, so
Very
that'll be
nice.
cool with Angela Sawyer. You'll probably be able to watch that later.
Nice.
I'm nervous.
Shout out to Rick Jenkins, man.
Yeah, I've
Love that
never
guy.
done a storytelling show before.
Mhm.
I love telling stories, and when I do stand-up, I try to, like, if I have a 5-minute set, what I try to do is have a couple jokes, but, like, I like to have 5 1-minute stories. Like,
Yeah.
try to figure out, like, that's what I,
Mhm. There you go.
That's we're talking shop. But back to that yelling teacher of yours.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was harsh. I had a math teacher my sophomore year of high school, Mr. Downing,
Mhm.
who was so harsh.
Mhm.
But he also did have a kindness to him
Yeah.
that you knew he was doing it to better yourselves. And I think that's the line. Like, if
Yeah.
you know they really want you to do better, then I will respect someone who's harsh.
Definitely.
But if they're just doing it because their life sucks,
right.
then I can tell that, and I'm not going to respect
Yes.
them or do what they tell me to say.
And I've had teachers that are on both ends of that spectrum.
yeah,
She was not. She was trying to make us real actors, And I like that because it definitely, after that, I never stopped acting. Like, even when I was a skateboarder and a pure hockey player, I was still making comedy videos. I was still doing like goofy shit with my friends. Nothing on, the level that I am now of like trying. But I still would do it. And like, we try to make them blow up, but nothing really. I did get a video I made in 8th grade. It got like 5,000 views, which is all right. It was this dumb parody of the Cold Steel. There was you watch Tosh.0 and all that. You remember the giant sword? Do you remember that? Like, that he featured these weird videos of this guy with this giant sword.
I do, yeah.
And he would like cut open like cows' heads and like all kinds of like fucked up shit to show how powerful this sword is. And man, I remember we had like chicken patties with breading on it, and like we were throwing a fork at it, and, like the Cold Steel fork, and it was kind of funny. And it got like 5,000 views. A lot of hate from the from the Cold Steel fans. They were like, oh, it's a real company. This is stupid.
You're like in 8th grade, like, fuck
Like,
you.
go play with your swords.
Yeah. Well, that's like, I got in that hockey accident when I was 16.
Yeah.
And I didn't really start anything until after I graduated college. I did stand up twice on Kill Tony at the Comedy Store in LA, 18 and 20.
Wow.
Both times I had to use a fake ID to get in.
Nice.
And those were I did it maybe like 10 times from 16 or from 17 to like 21. I did it probably like 10 times. And
Kill
then when-
Tony at the
No,
Comedy
no,
Store?
I mean
Oh,
just
okay.
comedy. Two
Oh, okay,
of those were
okay,
Kill
all right.
Tony.
Okay.
And then when I graduated college, I was working full time, but even with that, I was hitting 10 mics a week, 11 mics a week,
Nice.
8 mics after I graduated, I was like, you know what? I wasted so much time that now I'm going to dive in head first.
Yeah.
Do you feel a benefit with starting early?
I think so, but it was only 2 years. And I think to like what I was doing in those 2 years, I made I think definitely like the really early stuff, like the goofy videos, they helped, but it wasn't, I didn't put that stuff through the same process as I do now, because I like take a real critical look at like what I'm writing and what I'm filming. Back then it was just like anything goes. And, but I think it did kind of help because it put me in that mindset. It like familiarized me with the process of it, and it kind of proved to myself that I can do it. And I did make people laugh with those stupid videos, and it carried over to what I'm doing now. But I think for the 2 years that, I really took it really serious around 18 when I was out of high school, because it was that pressure of, all right, I'm not going to college. I'm only doing this. So if I'm only doing this, I better not be, a lazy cunt,
Yeah.
And so I hope I can say cunt.
You can.
Okay.
It's
All right.
fine.
Great. All right. Cool. So
My producers have a podcast called Shit Talking Cunt. So it doesn't.
that's fucking awesome. That's a
Use
great
our
name.
Check it out. Sorry, Ani, I didn't mean to offend you.
Not at all. I am not offended by the word cunt at all.
There it is.
Get all three.
There you go, all three. You should throw in some Judge Judy shit.
Oh.
My dad's an engineer,
Mhm.
and he does all kinds of funny technology stuff. And we have an intercom in our house.
Oh, really? You're on
Which
some
is-
Jetson shit.
Well, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Your dad created some crazy shit. You have
Yeah.
a bit about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of his recent cool things to talk about was a robot that can operate on people autonomously, and it specializes in spinal surgery, which is generally really delicate stuff. And there's other surgery robots out there, but it's pretty it's a cool thing to
Do your parents
think about.
Support your dreams?
Yes, they do, but it took a lot of showing.
Mm-hmm.
I really needed to, there were a few moments over time that made them accept it. Not quite off the bat. They wanted me to at least go to school.
Mm-hmm.
I instantly saw the conflict with how deep I was in it already and trying to get schoolwork done. And I knew that it wasn't going to work, but goalie smarts did kind of help, because I was able to brag about how, all the views I was getting,
Yeah.
because I had one thing that caught on.
You were successful.
Yeah. And I also did, I had a few other watershed moments, when I did Gotham Comedy Club one night, and I was on right before Jim Gaffigan, and I got a picture of my name next to him,
Oh, that's pretty
which
cool.
is pretty cool. And I put that on Instagram. That was a big flex. I felt really cool about that. And then a few New York shows, and then I started, when I worked at the rink, it became commonplace that people would recognize me. And that's when it really started to feel like I was getting somewhere, because it's now what I'm doing and what I'm putting out there on the internet is coming back to me. And I got to have conversations with fans, and they, they would quote more things than I legitimately remember writing. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
They'd say something. I'm like, oh yeah, I wrote that 3 years ago. And, there's a few goalie smarts jerseys with my signature on it. And it's it's pretty cool just to think about, but there's a lot more work to be done.
Yeah.
And it's a journey. And there's just certain moments, and you've probably had them yourself, Kill Tony and all
Yeah,
that.
actually funny. I don't have any success on the level that you have on the videos and stuff, but it was funny. I was at a show at the Wilbur once,
Mhm.
probably a year after I was on Kill Tony,
Mhm.
and a guy came up to me and he told me my joke back that I had done on Kill Tony, and he got a picture with me, and that's when I didn't even do
That's
stand up.
awesome.
It was that's when I didn't do stand up fully. It was one of the only I had done it 2
One
times,
toe in,
and it was kind of that. It's like an omen. I'm reading this book,
Yeah.
The Alchemist.
That's the exact word I think of.
Yeah.
Omen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you need to read this book, The Alchemist. I'll give you it
Mm.
afterwards. It's literally it's from the 80s. It was written originally in Portuguese.
Mhm.
I literally I sit in my car before I come inside, and I just listen to the audiobook, because it's all about omens. And it was
Yeah.
that, even if it was such a small, minuscule scale, showed me that at least I was on the right path early on.
Yes. Yeah. I'm sure that was a huge, and those moments, they get you through it. 'Cause you think back to those and you're like, you know, I've gone somewhere and like I have at least this under my, that's what you think about when you're at the open mics and there's 5 people
And you're bombing. Yeah.
and you're eating a fat dick on stage. And yeah,
Everyone wants you to quit because they want to quit themselves. But if you just beat everyone else out with not quitting, then that's the only,
I've heard that from so many different successful people, that it's just a game of like not quitting.
Those little things in life point you towards, I consider it my higher self, like becoming my best self.
Your purpose.
And it might not even happen in this life. And I've accepted that because maybe, I don't know, there's so many things I want to do.
Right.
And I'm not going to be able to accomplish them all now, but I am going to be able to accomplish them all in the end. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. It's all about the long term. And I feel like being open to, I mean, like like I said earlier, you know, comedians are just so diverse and like into, like Bill Burr, like flies helicopters and buys apartment buildings and like bakes pies and like all kinds of stuff like that. And that's what I love about comedy, is like you just kind of have freedom to do different things. And like the hockey comedy for me was great because it was like tying 2 passions together. And like, it's great that has been kind of like my, you know, biggest success, because it's so like, I spent half my life trying to be a professional goalie, and like to be able to like reflect on that in a way. And I've almost,
you are now one of many few well-known goalies. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's not that many well-known hockey goalies and you're one of them.
Exactly.
Even if you didn't play in the NHL. Like,
yes. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, I kind of have a different way of being remembered in the hockey community. And it's a very tight-knit community because, you know, it's like, it's in 4th place in America. I think it's comfortably in 4th place. It's probably,
not lacrosse.
It's not lacrosse. It's definitely not, or cricket or rugby, or, you know, it's definitely hockey. But, you know, I feel like it's in pop culture a little bit less, because basketball's a cool sport. Same with football. Baseball is just, it's boring, but it's like American, and we all, you know, I don't know.
Baseball's like a more exciting golf.
Yes.
And I love baseball.
I do too.
I like golf. I haven't played in a couple of years.
I just, you know, I appreciate it, but I won't watch it. You know, like I don't like relentlessly make fun of, because it's fun to play, and it, you know, the highlights are fun to watch. But with hockey, there's just action every 5 seconds. I
feel like that's how some people might feel about like an hour of stand-up, or like a showcase that's 3 hours long. They're like, it's too much. Come on,
it's just
like
a guy talking.
Like I just want to hear 10 minutes of jokes that I like and move on. Like that's why I think videos on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram or whatever of stand-up, kind of for a bigger audience who doesn't want to just consume it all the time, is better.
Yeah, but I think there's also value to just having that amount of like blank canvas.
Yeah,
and you could really wrap in some long, convoluted stories. Like I want my first special to be like a combination of all the, because I write a lot of stand-up about jobs, and I've had like 10 jobs, like, and I feel like it all kind of tells the different, because, you know, jobs are kind of like different chapters in your life, you know, like, or not having a job is a chapter in your life.
Yeah.
And I feel like I want to really tie it all together, because I got a lot of stuff about GNC, and there's a lot of fucking crazy shit going down with GNC. One thing I want to say that I haven't turned into a bit yet, I don't really know how to make it fun. It's one of those stories where like, I just got to tell it, and someday I'll figure out how to make it funny. They used to sell this mysterious white powder called, I forget what it was. It had a weird name to it. It was like Cell something, I don't know what, but it was cut for cocaine. And it was like basically this neutral powder that wouldn't do anything to your nose or give you any side effects. So I got to know like every coke dealer in my area, because they'd all come in and they were like, hey, yo, you got some of that ISO whatever? I'm like, yeah, it's under here. They used to keep it under the register because people would, you know, they don't want people stealing it, and they have a good reason to steal it, because they'd fucking overcharge. So they'd be like, okay, a bottle of powder about the size of this glass. How much do you think they'd charge for it?
I have no idea.
Like $150.
Jesus Christ.
You know, like
Yeah.
that's a little steep.
That's too much.
It definitely cost
And
them
all the
50
dealers
cents.
just buy it and cut it.
Well, you know, they knew exactly what was going on. That was my point about the overcharging and the keeping it under
That's
the
like
thing.
the roses in convenience stores that are in crack pipes. Like if you see a rose in a glass container, you can actually
Yeah.
smoke crack out of that.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
And that's how they finagle the system.
yeah,
And with that, do you want to give any plugs? Thank you so much for being
yeah,
on.
man.
I want to have you on again because this was a
Yeah.
fucking great conversation. I really
Dude, I'd love
enjoyed
to come
talking
back
to you.
on. Has it been an hour already?
Yeah, dude, it's been actually like an hour, 15 minutes.
Damn, that shit flew by. Every podcaster says that. They're
I
like,
know
it
it's
flies
crazy.
by, but
yeah.
that was a great talk, man. Yeah, the only thing I want to plug is if you look up LeBoeuf Comedy, if you look up Goalie Smarts, you'll see my sketches. If you're out there on YouTube, feel free to give it a watch and a thumbs up and a subscribe and all that shit. But yeah, man, I had a great time. This is a great podcast.
Thanks for
man.
being on. Do the same for Bucked Up. Like, subscribe,
Of
share,
course.
and we'll see you guys next week. Thank you.
Everybody